in the Hungry EcoCities project, and there are it focuses on let's say new or what could be changed in the current food systems, and how the AI technology could help in these. So the project has or the input providers are listed here, and it addresses or covers the whole food chain, and in this particular call, and Rolf will talk about it, we are targeting SMEs, so small and medium enterprises that would provide the opportunities in the call, and link to artists. They would bring innovation to the field. The structure of the consortium in the project, and the idea is same as in the START project or other START projects, is that art can bring innovations. So art-driven innovations outcomes are expected to be delivered in this project and also in this call. And what we or the SMEs interested and selected as these participants of this call can benefit from the consortium members and support from 3 universities. So we have KU and Berlin University of Technology that specialize in AI and various machine learning and IoT knowledge and experience. And we have also Mendeley University that is focusing on agriculture and other domains. We have studios that are linked to and support artists, and we have excellent partners that will be presented here in for art and funding box. Okay, I can ask probably Rolf to continue on details on the project and the call.
Yes, thank you, Pavel, and welcome to everybody from my side. My name is Rodolfo Groenewoud van Vliet, and I am on behalf of InfoArt technically coordinating the project together with Pavel, Leah, and some others. So I will share a little bit more about the backgrounds of the project, and then also of the opportunity that this open call brings. Pavel already briefly introduced us. You are now participating in a webinar for an Horizon Europe project, and a Horizon project always consists of consortia. In our case, we are with 8 partners. You just saw all the different logos. Partners from the academic world, partners from the creative world, and partners more from the innovation world, just to briefly summarize what Pavel already introduced. But that's not all, because as you may know, if you look a bit into our project, we are currently also already working with artists. There are currently 9 artists already involved in the project, and they are creating prototypes that we will touch upon a little bit later. And here you see a picture of all of us. So the reason why I want to show this picture is not to introduce you to everybody, but to let you know that as a company, as an SME, if you're interested in this call and you will apply and you will be part of our project, it means you will be working with quite a lot of very interesting people from across Europe. It's not only you'll get a lot of support from us. So the first angle in that support is the creative studios. Here you see 3 very brief pictures. We have 3 creative super powerhouses on board, and all 3 of them stand behind a vision in their terms, how they see the future of the food system and where it should go. And they're quite different from each other. So if we go from left to right, Studio Other Spaces, based in Berlin, they study a lot and they have a lot of knowledge around more the locality, the regionality, the local conditions, very small supply chain, very direct connections between growers and consumers, for instance. On the other end of the equation, on the far right, the Eat This with Remgoas and Stefan Peterman hub is mostly focusing on the larger scale. How can we make smart combinations between technologies, scales, maybe across different types of produce or products that growers want to grow or other parties in the chain can offer. And sitting in the middle, city and farming synergies, is a vision from Carlo Ratti Associati, which is an innovation and creative firm based in Turin in northern Italy. And they are very much interested in how we feed ourselves in the cities of the future, and to what extent food production becomes a part of that city and part of the architecture of that city. Now, I want to show this because if you are going to apply to this open call, in the end, you will be matched with one of these, at least one of these 3 studios, with a vision that closest aligns how you also see the future, see the world, and see the challenge that you bring forward to us. And they will be very actively supporting in the project to make it happen. Then there are scientists and students with a lot of knowledge around technology, mostly AI technology on the far right, the KU Leuven from Belgium, of course. There we are collaborating with AI scientists in particular, because artificial intelligence is an important element of the Hungry EcoCities project. And it would be great if in your company, if you decide to apply, you can also find an angle of interest in relation to AI. On the left, the Brno University of Technology. Well, you already met Pavel, who is a professor there. They are more the hardware type, I would say, not completely, but they have a lot of knowledge around, for instance, IoT devices, robotic devices, battery life, those kind of things, which is very useful, especially in growing environments. And in the middle, the Mendel University, also in Brno, Czech Republic, is specialized on the plant side of things. So they are an agricultural, agroforestry university with a lot of practical knowledge around plants and growth cycles. Finally, as you saw in the large picture a few slides ago, we are already working with a lot of artists, and these artists are creating what we call art-driven innovation prototypes. And here you see a very, very brief overview of them. There's no need to worry about it too much. We won't ask you to look into them for your current application, but do bear in mind and remember that once we start working with you, then we're going to look at these different prototypes and see if any of these and which ones of these could be interesting to test out in the project we're going to do with you as a company. So here you see a very small plotting. On the left are the names of the different prototypes that are being developed, and on the top you see to which part of the food system they relate to. And there are quite a few on the far right. So a lot of them focus on collecting data around anything that you can imagine around food and doing something with that data, either for purposes of the company efficiency or for purposes of the consumer or otherwise. And some others are in other parts of the equation. Like there's one that is, or two actually, that are dealing with alternative proteins and dietary shifts, much more looking at how our diet of the future would look like. 2 others are focusing on food waste and resources. So this is a part of the offer that we have that we have for you. Once you work with us in the project, these will come back and we will look at how relevant they are for your specific context. Then this is a bit more of text, and you can always read it later. But the name of the project that you are interested in by being here and potentially applying as an SME, we call them the Path to Progress Experiment, PPEs. Well, you can forget about that term directly, but please note that you will see it come back in different types of documents. And if we mention PPE, then we mean the projects that you are interested in and preparing your application for. And the bottom of this slide, you see ABC, and that is quite interesting and quite important to remember. So the goal of each of these projects is to lead to 3 different outcomes. The first is lasting innovative results for each and every one of the SMEs that participate. So the heart and soul of the project that you could participate in is you as an SME and your challenges, your environment, and your needs. We're going to work around that. Then we hope, because this is a European context, that the effect of the solutions we're going to co-create, of the work that we're going to do, can have a wider effect in the food chain. So it doesn't only serve you as an individual company, but it could be useful for peers, other regions, other subsectors, other parts of the food chain as well. And finally, as introduced by Leah in the beginning, we are injecting or introducing artists in this project. There are some other projects, they are mostly brought together on the start, not so much outside. But this is one of the few ones in food where we are injecting artists as innovators. So artists as problem solvers, as the bringers of creative approaches and creative insights to creative problem solving. And our goal with this project with you is to prove that that is of value, that leads to more interesting, more innovative outcomes than otherwise. Now, some of you may know this TRL logic. TRL stands for Technology Readiness Level, and is used quite broadly in the field of R&D and innovation to distinguish between more research type of activities and more market-oriented type of activities. The further down this TRL scale, the more researchy the type of project would be, the more up this scale towards 7, 8, 9, the more market ready the solution or the project should be. As you see here, you are now looking at a webinar and a call that is right in the middle, starting at TRL 4 and ending at TRL 6. That means that what we're going to make, what we're going to produce, is probably not market ready by the time we're done with Hungry EcoCities. You can't one-on-one put it on the market. You can't one-on-one sell it off or resell it. If that happens, great, but it's not a goal. The goal is to try to develop prototypes, TRL 6. And with 6, we mean a prototype that is verified in its real setting. And I think the next slide is about that as well, Leah. Yeah. So what do we mean with what we want to achieve with you in this project? What we promise to achieve with you in this project? Well, here you see it in writing, but let me take you through it, because there are 4 different parts that are quite important. And you can also read this back in the guides that we have and the frequently asked questions. And still then, if you have any questions at any point in preparing your proposal, do reach out to us. We are here, we are also people, we want to help. But let me try to explain it for you now. So first of all, we want the outcome, so whatever we develop with you in this project, to be demonstrated in its intended setting. And what that means is that if we are working on a, let's say, a data-driven solution that is supposed to help the growth of a product that you grow. It's a bit general, but excuse me for that. Then we don't only want to do it on paper. We don't only want to do it in the lab. We want to do it where it grows. If you're growing tomatoes, it should be in the greenhouse with the tomatoes, proven that what we have thought of, that it works. Or in any other part of your chain or your chain of operation. That is what we call demonstrable in the operational environment. Now, if we think back to TRL 6, that doesn't mean it can stay there. So it's about a test. It's going to be a prototype that we test in the real environment, but that could require additional work, even additional funds, to ultimately end up being deployable for your situation or for others. Again, in some situations, we may come very close to that deployable state, but in others, we may not, because the challenges may be too complicated to reach that within the time and efforts that we have available. Now, what is digital? This is primarily focusing on digital experiments and projects. That is not fully exclusive. We can also look at materials or waste or the product itself, But each and every project should have at least the potential of having a digital layer, preferably a layer that deals with artificial intelligence. So basically a challenge or a challenge direction, which could lead to collecting large amounts of data that require some sort of modeling or some sort of algorithm to turn into useful information, predictions, or other ways. But it can also be other types of digital technology. It can be around robotics, for instance. It can be around IoT devices. It can be around sensors and the workings on them. Now, what we say there is each experiment shall contribute to developing new perspectives on the potential of AI-enabled technologies. With new perspectives, we mean that we don't seek for challenges that you are already solving or that you even have already solved. And you're now looking, for instance, to put it on a market or to get attention for it. That's not of interest to us. We want to work together with you on solving challenges that are new to you as well as an SME. So that means if you are a non-technical SME, a grower or a distributor or anything else, that is relatively simple, usually, because that's not your core business. But this call is also open for technology companies in the world of food, companies that are already used to developing technological solutions, either hardware or software. Even then, if you are interested in working with us, we shall need to find a potential, a use case, a challenge that is new to all of us for this challenge, that we all need to step outside of our comfort zones for. And finally, what is prototype? Well, I already mentioned it a couple of times. We call that technology readiness level 6. So we have something in our hands, either software or hardware. It is used, it is tested with real data in the real field, in a real situation, but it may not be ready to deploy yet. I hope that that came across. Then, what kind of challenges could you be thinking about? What we have seen also in previous calls that are similar to this and that reach out to SMEs and to companies like you, is that it can be quite hard to come up with, you know, what would be a good angle, what would be something that you need as a company and that also we can assist with in the context of this project. So I try to make this slide to bring some sort of clarity in that. First, if we go to the right part of the slide, the little image, you see 8 different, am I saying this right? Yes, there are 8 different categories that we've seen in the past that could lead to interesting challenges and projects. You can roughly divide them in 4 different groups. So I mentioned before, hardware or software related, AI related, which is basically if there's a mathematical challenge that we could try to solve through AI and possibly, of course, either hardware or software or both. And the 4th category is non-technical related, or at least not in their outset. It could be either related to materials, existing materials, or new replacement materials that you're looking at, waste streams, water streams, energy streams, things like that. Actually, quite a lot is possible. So the quality of the application that you're going to prepare will depend a lot from how innovative it is to you, how fitting it is with us, and how realistic it is that within the year plus and the budget that you will hear more about later, we can actually attempt to solve this. For that, we invite you also to do reach out. If you are thinking of things, if you have ideas, if you have questions, we cannot say what is a good idea or what is not, but we can help in defining what would be within the scope of this project. So if we go to the left of this slide, you see that we're looking for complex challenges. And with complex, we mean that by definition, multiple disciplines will be needed to tackle them. If you can solve the challenge on your own and you just need a bit of money, don't come here. We need you to need us as well to make this happen. And I put some examples from completely different industries, but real projects that have been done in very much a similar way as this on the left for inspiration. So for instance, in the world of envelope making, there was a company who was trying to figure out how to make a smarter envelope. not just by adding a tag to it, but what does smartness mean? And what different layers of levels of smartness can we consider when trying to develop a new product? Well, that requires creativity, it requires technical expertise, it requires scientific expertise and economic expertise, and it delivered a very interesting project in this context. Or the second one from the wine industry, a company was struggling with how to maintain the knowledge of whom they called the nose, which was basically somebody in their organization with a lot of practical knowledge around the wine curing and the wine ripening process, how to digitize that. And for that, an IoT application was ultimately developed. There are some other examples here as well. We also have put examples in the documents, and we have put some links in the document to other projects that are ongoing in other industries with very similar types of art SME combined challenges and relations. So do look at that when you're preparing your application, because I'm pretty sure it can inspire what could be relevant for you. Now, I'm almost going to stop talking and give the word to Anka. But before I do, I want to make a very small bridge to what she's going to be sharing with us. She's going to explain in depth what the technicalities behind the call are. So where you can find what you need to know and what you need to prepare for. And that is basically the two little parts left of the dotted line in this last image. So the application and then also the selection, or part of the selection, which is now coming your way. After the dotted line to the right is the program that we're going to work in together if you get selected. It has 3 stages, and Leah will share more about that after Anka in the end. But just for you now to remember, we start now in February 2024. The deadline for submitting is in a little less than 3 months time. That is not because it will take you 20 days to prepare an application. Don't worry, but it's because we want to have enough time for you to digest all the information, the opportunity, and come up with a response that is good for you and that is fitting with the program. And we know from experience that that can take some time. All in all, if you are going to work with on this and hopefully you become successful with us, we will be collaborating with each other all the way until the fall of next year when the program ends. But much more on that in the following parts from Anka and then Leah. So with that, I stop, and Anka, I give the word to you.
Okay, thank you, Rodolfo. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday afternoon. It's almost weekend, so hang in there. Okay, so it has been mentioned that this is the first phase of the second open call for Hungry EcoCities. And this open call is called Call for Art-Driven Experiments. And what you are seeing now are the steps that we have developed in order to get to this path to progress experiments that Rodolfo explained earlier. So right now we are on this left side of the cycle where we have launched the call for applications from SMEs, small and medium enterprises across Europe. And our objective with this call is to get to select 10 of you, some of you present here, others will most likely reach out to us during the open call. And these 10 SMEs will be the ones starting this program, the Path to Progress experiments. They'll be starting as soon as we have concluded and validated the list of 10 eligible applicants, and they will engage in a 14-month support program. But the first part, as I said, it will be just by themselves, just the SMEs, working together with us, the project consortium, for a period of 6 months. In this time frame that will be further developed by Leah, we expect the SMEs to better define the challenges that they have proposed at the application stage, and with our support to give more context to those challenges in order for them to be listed on uploaded on the Hack Lab, the environment that we created specifically for this project. So this ends the first step towards the Path to Progress experiment. But in the backstage, we, the project consortium, are going to work at the same time towards launching the call from artists. So we are launching an individual open call for artists. Individual artists are expected to apply this time, and they will be the ones that will go again through an evaluation and selection process, and they would be reaching out to SMEs through the mentioned Hack Lab in order to identify and match between their artistic vision and the challenge that you propose. So this will enable us to have at least 2 artists approaching each SME with each challenge and proposing a prototyping proposal, presenting a full prototyping proposal on how to take your challenge, the problem you identified, give it an artistic perspective, and elaborate around it, working with digital technologies in order to get to the TRL level that Rodolfo mentioned before. So this is an entire different, it's a second phase application and selection process applying just to artists. And right now we are focusing on the first phase of the open call, which is the application and selection of the 10 SMEs and their challenges that will start the Path to Progress experiments. Only after having selected the 10 artists, individual artists, will the SMEs and artists start to collaborate and work within the residency for the following 8 months. This will be explained a bit later as well. So what we are looking for in this first phase of the open call is for SMEs, including startups, that are somewhere involved across the agri-food chain, right? So they can be input providers, they could be producing and growing food, processing and distributing, retail, cooking, and consumption. And you have a very detailed description of all this in the project documents, in the guide for applicants, and on the STARTS website. And we can also take questions here, of course. So what we are looking for SMEs, including startups, especially startups, is for them to have a product on the market and a sufficient track record and real environment to test in. So this is a condition that we have in order to enable that collaboration with the artists that will come further down the road, and with the scientists and the mentors from the host studios that we have in the Hungry EcoCities consortium. Another very important condition is that these SMEs are European by definition. That means they have to be member states of the European Union and its overseas countries and territories, or associated countries to Horizon Europe. This is a very important eligibility condition. Chances are that if you're not finding your country in the drop-down list in the application form, you are not eligible. But still, if you feel that you should be, you can email us or send us a question through the help desk. The applications have to obviously be submitted online, and that is before the 15th of, on the 15th of May, before 5 o'clock, just to give you the full timeline. They have to be in English, and you have to pay very much attention to the mandatory sections in order for you to be able to submit that. But the application form will give you a red flag if you forget to fill something vital there. The applicant cannot be under liquidation or under difficulty, and you should not have any type of relationship with the consortium partners. You can find the full list of consortium partners in the guide for applicants, and they have been briefly introduced to you earlier before. So you've heard what we are looking for and what we are trying to obtain with this open call. What we do offer to those selected applicants is a chance, as Rodolfo also mentioned before, to bring about some change, to bring about innovation in the European agri-food industry. So starting with that chance, that should be your final objective when applying to this call, to develop or enhance, starting from your challenge, your very particular local or global challenge, if you will, to develop and enhance this art-driven innovation product service that can be further applied in the European food sector, if that is the case. What we also offer, and this is something that you should value in terms of services that come to you at no cost, because there is no direct cost that you would pay otherwise if you had to consult these services. You'd collaborate with an artist and also the Hungry EcoCities multidisciplinary team to test the identified issue problem in a context of creativity and use of digital technologies. Along with these benefits, you'd also get access to the project tools, and you get to experiment with the digital technology enabled by the project and testing prototype parks, which gives you, again, a head start compared to other companies, to other SMEs in the food sector, which do not have this option, which may not have this option, and would have to employ their own funds to do that. So in addition to all this, you would be getting the money, of course. So the 45,000 up to 45,000 euros, it's an equity-free funding as a lump sum. And both these concepts are very important, because equity-free funding means that you do not pay taxes on it. And lump sum means that you do not have to justify the money against invoices, contracts, and salaries, but you just have to come up with the deliverables and comply with the milestones that are going to be set in the execution of the project. And all this would be done with the support from Europe's leading universities in science and technology. You have met one of them before, and there are two others mentioned by Rodolfo, and mentorship from renowned creative studios for 14 months. So what I would like to add to the 45,000 euros equity-free funding is that this money is for you to spend it as you find it appropriate during the 14 months execution of the project, be it with travels, with personnel. But it is important for you to consider that up to 10,000 euros of this money has to be employed to subcontracting technologies and services that cannot be within your reach. And this can be of artistic or technological nature. So when you consider the budget that you'll have to fill in the application form, please remember that up to 10,000, it is written everywhere. You cannot forget it, but I am insisting on that for you to keep it in mind. So the application process, it was said, is not going to take you 60 days or 90 days, just as long as the open call lasts. I think if you click once more, Leah, it should start. Yeah, this is a print screen video of the application form. No, it doesn't want. Oh, I'm so sorry. I will just explain it to you because I know it by heart. I don't know why it's not working. Okay, so if you're not used to the Funding Box platform and you haven't applied to any open calls through the Funding Box platform before, then you would have to register and create an account on this platform. The URL has been pasted in the chat, so you can go directly there right now. When you go to the Apply Now button, you'll see the application form. And this is a very simple form that can be also worked on offline. When you go to Read First, where you'll find the guide for documents, the guide for applicants, sorry, and the frequently asked questions, you will also see the application form in Word format. So this is an application form that is very easy for you to fill in. It wouldn't, if you have already identified the challenge, it shouldn't take you more than a few hours to present, because what we want with this application form is for you to convey to us your motivation for participating in Hungry EcoCities, the issue that you identify and how that connects to the scope of Hungry EcoCities, and for you to clearly present to us your test environment, your facilities, your factory, or wherever you may be at this stage, so that we understand that you have the possibility to enable this collaborative work at your premises. Okay, So it's important that we also know if you participated in other STARTS projects, because or you are participating at the time of this application in other STARTS project, because this is this Hungry EcoCity project is under the STARTS program, and it is important for us to understand your availability and resources to take part in several projects at the same time. On the same in the same application form, you will get to upload the presentation of your facilities of the environment test. If you cannot upload it as a file, you have the option to just upload it to an external drive and share the link. Make sure that the external source is a shareable one, and we'll have the information here. Thank you so much, Leah, for opening the microsite. I don't know why that didn't work. Okay, on the same microsite where you have the application form, if you go to read first, you will find all the information that we are sharing here briefly, but here you will have it more in detail, like the guide for applicants, the FAQ, the application form I was mentioning. You can read about the directions that Rodolfo mentioned briefly earlier, and here you will find the recording of this webinar and the link to participate in the following one, if this is what you would like to do. The application form also has a part concerning the budget that I touched upon a bit earlier. So if you have questions about the budget, or if you have any doubts and you cannot find the answer in the FAQ or in the guide, you can always come back to us and ask your specific questions. This is the application form. As I said, once you have identified the challenge, you fill in your company details, you select the country, and you just fill in the description fields, and this shouldn't take you more than a couple of days altogether, just building the idea and submitting the form. I would go back to the presentation now. Yeah, there are two sections, declaration of honor and processing of personal data. These are just ticking boxes, so it will take you less than 5 minutes to go through them. But the motivation and the fit with Hungry EcoCities, these are the two very important sections that where you have the chance to shine and make sure that your application stands out, and it is very clearly and convincingly presented to the evaluators. So after you have created or logged in to the application form, if you identify at any moment that there are things that you cannot find answers to, you can always reach out to us, and we have enabled several channels of communication for you to contact us. The next slide, please, Leah. Okay, so the easiest one would be, if you haven't gotten on the website yet, would be to scan this QRL. Remember, you have until the 15th of May to apply. We have this webinar recording, and we'll have another webinar on the 2nd of April. You can reach out to us by email at the Hungry EcoCities email address. We have a help desk, which is an online form through the spaces at Funding Box, and you can always ask for one-on-one calls with us. As Rodolfo mentioned, there are no two identical ideas. There is no good challenge, bad challenge. But so if you have an idea, you can always reach out, and we try to answer to your specific questions. This is the part where you apply. Once you have completed the application after the 15th of May, we at our end are embarking on the selection process stage. And this, in terms of the timeline for you, means that after the 15th of May, you should expect a reply from us regarding the eligibility and the selection of your proposal by mid-summer, around the 7th of July. And the selected winners, the 10 SMEs selected, will start the Path to Progress program at the beginning of September this year. And that is when their journey starts with Hungry EcoCities for the first 6 months with the support of Hungry EcoCities Consortium. And the next 8 months would be in collaboration with the artist, again, with the support of our project partners. I will go a bit more in detail about the selection process. So here you can see we have, I think you need to go one click before because I included both phases and it was supposed to go one after the other. No, it doesn't work like that. So today it's not my best day. I did do a very nice image in Canva though. So I will explain to you the evaluation process for the SMEs. The first stage after you have submitted the application would be the admissibility and eligibility check, which is done by at our end, and we are going to communicate the results. Okay, so in the first week after you have submitted, you would know if you have passed on to the next phase. The next phase being the independent evaluation, where we engage with selected experts, both from the consortium and external experts, and they will be scoring your proposal based on the criteria that you will see in the guide for applicants as well, which are the fit with Hungry EcoCities, the environment that you provide, and the resources that you would enable for the participation in the program. After we get this evaluation from the external experts, external and internal experts, we can produce a ranking list and we can talk among the project consortium partners at the consensus meeting on whom to invite to join the program. We will select 10 and probably a reserve list of up to 3 SMEs, and we'll communicate the results to them. That is mid-July, and the next stage for those selected would be to submit some documents in order for us to make sure that you are compliant with the status of an SME and you are involved in the agri-food sector as you have declared previously. Please note that at the application stage, we do not ask from you to submit any documents regarding your accountancy or the status of your company, but if you are selected, you would have to do that. I think I had one more slide, which was about our inclusion and diversity clause regarding this open call, and this is something that it's important for us throughout the entire project. This is our second open call, and we have employed a selection process, evaluation process of transparency, fairness, and equal to all participants. So we are trying to focus on increasing the ethnic, socioeconomic, and gender diversity within the project. And if in the section in the application form, in the section regarding the resources that you would enable, this including the human part, make sure that you give a certain focus to the way your company is working with diversity and inclusion, and what is your experience with a diverse and inclusive network, and how diversity and inclusion are represented in your staff or employees. These are some information that we expect to see in the application form from you, and then we will consider all the evaluation criteria that you have mentioned and that you can find mentioned in the guide for applicants for you to understand how we are looking at the proposal. I will let Leah walk you through the past progress setup, and if you have questions, I could see something in the chat, we'll take them at the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anka, and thank you all for staying with us. The missing slides of Anka will make sure that they will be correctly displayed in the slides we'll share at the end. So there you'll see the right figures. Apologies for that. So about the Path to Progress setup, as already said, it's a program of 14 months, but it's split in different stages. The first stage will be on the discovery, how we call it, and that will be between you and the Hungry EcoCities consortium. After your application and selection, we will work together with you to fine-tune the challenge you have, to really write down the problem definition and the solution framing so that it will be for the artist possible to apply for that. And in this phase, we will work on the matchmaking, and you will have the opportunity to work and discuss with 2 of the pre-selected artists how they would like to work on your challenge. Then in the next phase, we will go to the prototype phase, and that's where actually the collaboration will start together with the artists on the one hand to work on the identified prototype, but at the same time also you will be working together with the scientists and with the other consortium members on testing the digital prototypes that we already have within the Hungry EcoCities system, which Rodolfo showed to you earlier. After we have set up the prototype for the testing, we go into the last phase of the residency program, and that's where we're going to demonstrate it. And it's the real field testing within your own facilities to see how this prototype works, to validate it in this real operation environment, and to verify the prototype system, to see the learnings from the digital tools we have created, and to iterate and experiment together to make sure that we can reach the TRL 6 level. Throughout this process, we will guide you, we will support you with our mentoring team and make sure that you can focus on going throughout this whole process from discovery to prototype to demonstrate. Because what is very important within our program is it's not a program that you will be conducting by yourself. No, it's a multidisciplinary collaboration where in the beginning we start with you and your challenge as the end user, and we team you up with the studio partner from our consortium and the art-driven innovation partner mentor. At the same time, you will search together with the scientists how it will fit their research and your challenge and how you can enforce each other. And then later, after the discover phase, and when we have achieved the propositions of the artist, you will start collaborate with one artist that will be linked to your challenge within your program. And together you will go through the prototype and demonstrate phase. So to give a summary of everything that we've been talking through, it all starts now with the application until the 15th of May. In this application, we're searching for your motivation, the challenges, the activities you are aiming to do. We're not asking you already to propose a prototype. That's something that will come in the next phase. So you are giving us the challenge you would like to work on and the motivation you would like to work on with us. And based on that, through the matchmaking, we're going to search for the artist that would work together with you on that prototype. Then, of course, we're going to go through the selection phase where we'll have 10 of the SME end users selected. They will sign a contract with the consortium and they will start with our program as of September 1st. And the first phase is the discovery phase, what I just described. And that's only the moment when you're really going to have to work with the artists, where you will see what type of prototypes they are suggesting for you, where you identify the scientific input needs, where you select a digital prototype. Then once the artist is selected, we're going to go to the development and demonstrate phase. So that's the second 8 months of the program. So the first 6 months within our own group, the second 8 months with a larger group. That's the whole setup of the program, which starts as of now with your application, and which will bring us to interesting outcomes in the fall of 2025. So with that, I hope we have given you a short overview of the whole trajectory, the opportunities this open call brings to you, the partners behind Hungry EcoCities, and the process of the application, the eligibility, how you could apply and what to look at. And now we're turning to our Q&A and questions section. So I would like to open the floor for you to start asking questions. And we already have a question within our chat box that I would like to shortly address to Anka about the 45,000 budget, out of which 35,000 is meant for the SME costs and 10,000 for subcontracting. In case of not using subcontracting or less than 10,000 for it, can SMEs use these 10,000 for other costs? Or is it only meant as a cap for the consortium and doesn't use more than 10,000 euros for subcontracting?
The recommendation here, and Rodolfo, yeah, please feel free to step in. The recommendation here is to have these 10,000 euros reserves for joint work with the artist. And you can go back because you are going to elaborate an individual mentoring plan with the artist once they join you after the first 6 months. So at that point, you can go back with the artist at that subcontracting sum and see if that is the money that you would need to employ. It is capped to up to 10,000 euros so that the SME can make their own budget calculation for the duration of the program, counting on the 35,000 euros. Okay, so we are limiting the subcontracting to 10,000 euros, but this can be decided with the artist once they join you, and you can go back in the individual mentoring plan and reassess the budget allocation depending on the proposal, the prototype that the artist suggests, and the use of the resources that they may see fit.
Yeah, and to add to that, it will be partly to accommodate the testing of the artist. The artist will get their own budget for the prototype development, but we also have the digital tools which are already developed. And if you would like to run them and test them at your facilities, there might be some subcontracting costs needed for that as well. And that's where you could use this budget for. Another question is the starting TRL at application supposed to be at 4? Yes, it's about at 4, but that's something with which the artist designers will apply to the program in the second phase. And the ambition is that within the program, they will be testing it and further developing it with you at your premises, bringing it to TRL 6. If you have a question, you can also unmute yourself and raise your hand. Otherwise, I'm gonna continue with the questions in the chat. There are a lot of questions also related to the artists. This is really, the first phase is really focused on the end users and SMEs. For the artists, we will open up a separate call in the summer of 2024. So artists that are interested do already subscribe to the help desk so they can notify you on when this call opens, but we're now only searching for the SMEs. There is some confusion on the eligibility criteria. Anka, perhaps you can repeat what type of countries are allowed to apply.
Okay, so we are at the program actually, because as Rodolfo explained, we are getting the money from the Commission in the form of a consortium that at our turn presented a proposal and got the financing. That part of the financing goes to third parties, which would be you and the artists, okay? So the eligibility conditions are coming from the European Commission, and they include the EU member states, you know, the 27 member states, and then we have associated countries to Horizon Europe, and there you would find countries like countries from the Balkans, or you know, we have Turkey as well, we have Israel. You have the complete list in the FAQ and in the guide for applicants. So we have Kosovo, Montenegro, Bosnia, and these are countries associated to Horizon Europe. We do not control that. We cannot decide which are the associated countries. So this is the list that comes from the Commission, and we take it further to the third parties receiving European money through us. And the other conditions regarding eligibility, yes, that is one of the conditions, the eligible countries. The other condition is that you are a small and medium enterprise in the food sector. Okay, small and medium enterprise, we have a definition of that in the guide. You should not have more than 500 employees. I hope I'm not being incorrect now. And there is also an assessment tool for you to use freely from the Commission in order to assess your status of as an SME. Okay, we also include startups. So we know startups, we have startups in other calls. They've been in business for over 5 years. They still declare themselves as startups as long as they have some production process in line, and they have a track record that we can refer to, and obviously the premises for the test environment. Not very many conditions, okay? Just eligible country. Start with that and just go through the form, because the form eliminates you if you're not one of the eligible members, because we will make questions like, are you a large company? And if you say that, yes to that, then you're not eligible. So
yes, and maybe in addition to that, Anka, so the SME criteria, you will find them in the documents. There are only 2 criteria: the amount of employees and the turnover. There's a cap on the turnover, but you will find the exact numbers there. That is not to say that we're only searching for for-profit companies. So if you have a non-for-profit organization, but you operate as a company, as a small or medium-sized company, then you're also eligible to apply, even if your goal is not to make a profit from your activities. Maybe that's good to stress.
Thank you. Gabriella, you had a question on, could a Horizon project insert start in the implementation of interventions? Could you perhaps elaborate what you mean with that? We did mention that we cannot have double funding with the STARTS program. So if at the same time you're involved in another STARTS project, do reach out to the help desk so we can check that. But that mostly applies to artists. However, there is one other call from this Horizon program, which is called Musée, where they're also opening up for end users. And if you are selected in that one, you cannot simultaneously be selected and approved in Hungry EcoCities. If that answers your question, I hope. Otherwise, please refine a bit what you want us to address. Are there any other questions we did not address yet? We will have a second webinar where we will fine-tune a bit more in the application form, give you suggestions in applying how to do that, where we will introduce a bit more about the humanizing technology experiments as a toolkit that will be part of your Paths to Progress experiments, and where you can hear a bit more about our studio partners.
Leah, I have found one more question in the chat. Will artists be able to propose a project, or is this only possible if you apply as an SME? So maybe you or Rodolfo would like to take that one.
So the second phase of this open call is focused on artists, and the artist will be able to apply with an existing project they have already conducted. And this is an opportunity for them to further develop that, or to find a match that what they have done, perhaps in another setting, could apply as well. And they would like to test that out together with the SME. So we're asking artists to apply already with a project they have conducted before, and which have resulted in certain products or services or certain prototypes or outcomes. And those lessons and insights they could further develop for the food sector, or they could use those lessons, and we see that that could be part of the food challenge that is being raised by the SME. Rodolfo, do you want to?
Yeah, maybe just to stress very clearly, now in this first phase of the open call, we are only looking for SMEs, for companies, challenge owners. Later, there will be a second open call, completely separated, part of the same program, but separated, only looking for artists. So if you are an artist and you're interested in applying to Hungry EcoCities as an artist, you will have to wait and not do as if you are an SME to apply to this round. But just wait, there will be a second round for you. Maybe it's good to stress that. That is also why you will not find anything related to the artist call in the documentation we have now. It's mentioned that there are artists going to be involved and we're going to search for them, but as little as possible, because now it's only for companies.
There is another question. Do you have information about similar applications for large companies? Well, we are a project which is really focused on the small and medium enterprise projects. Of course, the European Union has different types of programs, and they have portals where you can search for other opportunities, but we don't have them in our call. So it depends on what you mean with a large company. If you fit within the eligibility criteria that Anka just said, then we're really happy to welcome you on board and hear more about your challenge, and hope you found this useful. If you are too large and out of scope, then we suggest you to look further at other opportunities. Any other questions? We'll make sure that the questions that were raised, that they are included in the FAQ if they have not been so far yet. As said by Agnieszka, this webinar is recorded, so you can rewatch it if you want. We will share the slides with it. You will get it if you have subscribed with your details that you would like us to email it to you. Otherwise, you can always find it back in the portal that we showed that Anka went through in the Read First section. There we will upload the link to this webinar as well. If you're interested, do register, start your account so we can keep you informed on the process. And if you have questions, reach out to our help desk. We're here to help you with your application. I hope that this webinar was useful to you. I'd like to thank you all for your attention. I'd like to thank all the partners for their contributions. And I want to wish you a wonderful evening. Thank you all for joining.